waiting, I'm in the sun. Get away, lazy Joe. Lazy Joe.
All right, so this little episode of What's Happening, we're out here tonight with Teilhard Frost. How you doing?
I'm good. This is Joel Malloy and his brother Jace Malloy.
That's right, yeah. That's right, I got my brother Jay here. So this is going to be a really great episode because me and Jay, we went to Blue Skies one year, and we started on a new style of music, playing some folky kind of stuff, and we seen Sheeshman Lotus and Son, and this was Sheeshman Crow from Sheeshman Lotus and Son.
Howdy.
And these guys play big time, old time music, and it's awesome. And I love it, and I appreciate what you guys do.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man. So
it's
like,
funny. I got in the truck today, and of all things, it must have been a fluke, but my wife had Sheeshman Lotus, or like a sample MP3 thing that's on a data stick in the truck. She had it. I jumped in there and I thought, "Wow, what's this racket?" I was like, "Oh shit, it's me!"
That's
Oh, that
awesome.
was really funny. I wasn't sure she's like if she put it on, so knowing that I'd jump in and she'd be like, "Oh, that's sweet." It was nice,
cool.
but I hadn't heard it in ages, and it was Move Out of Town. It wasn't the one you were saying. What's the one you were saying?
Keep it clean.
Oh, Keep It Clean. That's
Keep
a
it
good
clean
one.
was a good one. Yeah. Love it. So like, how did you get into this style of music? What your parents were into it, or?
A bit, yeah.
Yeah.
My dad had a jug band, not really a jug band, more like a skiffle band in England. He's from England, south of England, and he had this band that was called the Eminent Victorians, and they had a bunch of brass. He played banjo, and they were a big outfit. It was like kind of like, you know, when those Montreal bands and all this. Remember back 15, 20 years ago, and all those big bands started happening, like not the Hidden Cameras, but Arcade Fire, bands like that, like that were kind of big and like lots of crazy horn sections and really fun. It was kind of like the late 50s version of that, 60s maybe, and 50s. So anyway, he was into that and gave me a jaw harp and stuff when I was little, and my mom gave me a fiddle and set me up with some lessons, but the lessons were okay. I was doing Suzuki, and I just wasn't. It was fine. I had fun, but I didn't like practicing. I just liked playing. I just wanted to play tunes. So I'd sit down. I had couple of Rudy Meeks records. He was really a fiddler. I think he's still alive too. He'd be old. He's like in his 90s. But Rudy Meeks had a shop in Aurelia where my grandparents were from, and he was like the Canadian champion fiddler for years. And super swell guy, and had a violin and music store in Aurelia, and I'd go down and hang out and just watch him, you know, repairing instruments, and talk to him and just listen to the tunes were always playing in the background somewhere, and I just got hooked. Like I just got hooked on the fiddle, and I didn't want to do anything else. Like I wanted to be running around with my friends. I remember one day I was standing there in the window. I grew up in Manitoulin Island, and so there weren't a ton of people around, but when I was 5, I was living in this village called Province Bay, and there were, I don't know, 4 other kids who were my age maybe, and I'd see them go tearing by my house and off into the bush, and then like they'd come roaring back, and I'd be standing there going, and I just was like, I want to be out playing, this is crazy. But at the same time, I would sit and just listen to these fiddle records. Like, I just wouldn't stop. It was crazy. I had a Mickey Mouse record player with the Mickey Mouse arm. It was plastic, Fisher Price. It opened up, and Mickey Mouse is on the back, and his arm was the stylus. And so I just put on these records, and I listened to fiddle. I had this Kentucky fiddle record too. It was blue. I don't remember who it was. And I think listening back to it when I was when I was about 20, the guy was like really ragged, rough fiddler. Like it was actually not. I have to listen to it again. I just don't. I think Jay Edmonds might have the copy of it. But anyway, we had that record. And we had these Rudy Meeks records, and I had what was his name? Jan Rubesh, who's a celebrity, like a TV kids show celebrity, and he was always singing, and had these really great records. I had this great record by Jan Rubesh. Yeah, and he had this voice that spoke like this. I think he might have been Czech or Dutch. I think he was Czech. Anyway, he I would pick up all these songs from him, like just songs like Jonah and the Whale. Who did, who did, who did, who did, who did, who swallowed Jonah, who did, who did, who did, who swallowed Jonah, and so on. And I would play those on the fiddle, like from the vocal melody, and I'd just lift them and play them like crazy. And then I started going into fiddle competitions, and I'd play these Jan Rubesch tunes my first waltz I played at the Minnemoya Lions Club pancake breakfast and fiddle competition was one of the songs was Who Did, and another was the Rose of Avondale or Avonlea. I can never remember what it's called. The Rose of Avondale. It's a really pretty waltz, and so I'd play that, and I'd always place because there's nobody else in my age group, so like I felt like super champion. I'd always win, and it was hilarious. But
So I want to kind of talk about a little bit of your building of the banjos here. So you're building these out of gourds, and I see one over here. This is the dried out one, and it feels hollow. How does that work? Do they just everything kind of rot in it, and then when
you just let them sit, and you just have to hold that on your lap. You just let them dry. And inside, okay, so check this out. Just put a bit of oil on here. I've washed it down and scrubbed it, and then I'll take light sandpaper. But you see how that color just comes right out? Mm-hmm. So it turns from that kind of to that. It's amazing. That's just a bit of oil. And so what I'll do is clean them. Let's just look outside the door and see if there's one sitting out there.
Okay, cool.
So that's a big nest of seeds. And what happens is they as they dry, this all pulls together because it's the same as a squash. Like if you cut it open when it's green, you'll see them all like a butternut squash or whatever, and you scoop them all out.
Yep.
But if you for a gourd, you let it set, and as it dries, all those fibers pull together.
They kind of come into the center. That's why it feels so hollow, eh?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then when like this one, you shake it, and here it's a big chunk. So they turn into this sort of ball of seed. And then they'll be carried off. Okay, so when you cut it open there, do you coat it with a glue or anything to put like a hardening on it, or how did? I oil them. I used to oil the inside too, but I tend not to do that now. But I'll give them a coat of linseed oil and then do like a shellac wax oil finish. Mm-hmm. Often I'll just oil them with linseed oil and just let them be like they're just kind of, like it just gives them a warm texture.
It gives it a glow, right, or whatever you want. And then you're kind of what are you using down for your necks then?
This is black cherry.
Black cherry.
This one is This one isn't. That's from the Toronto area. And then the fingerboard is ebony.
Are you carving all that out, or are you getting somebody to make your necks?
Oh gosh, no. No, these are.
Yeah, I see you're doing like yourself here.
Here's the beginning.
Yeah.
It starts as a stick, milled lumber, and then I cut them out on that tiny bandsaw there.
It's beautiful.
And I cut out the rough shape, so you end up. This is the latest that I'm working on now. So. I cut them out so they're just a square blank. Mm-hmm. I usually scab that on there for the tail, and then
start doing some rounding and some fun.
Here, I'll show you.
Some finishing work.
Right now.
That's good.
So here's the square neck. So this is called a shaving horse. draw knife. Take the draw knife. And the nice thing with this bench, I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
This is a shaving horse, and what it does is it allows me to clamp and work on wood quickly, as opposed to like using something like a leg vise or a bench vise.
Yep.
I can go like this and go chuk chuk chuk, chuk chuk chuk, and then all you do is just move your feet, and it just makes life so much easier. And I'm sitting down, and you have the power of this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I'll take the chunk of wood, lay it out, cut it out on the bandsaw, and then just start at. Sharpen up. This is called a draw knife. Some people call them bark knives because you use them to strip logs.
Yeah, we did our whole our log cabin like that, our sap house.
Nice.
I've been on the end of one of those for a while.
Oh yeah. So I just go at it. And this is mahogany. I don't work a lot with mahogany, so I'm still
Getting the density of the wood, right? Like everything's got a different.
just how flaky it is and how it reacts to. And this also, usually what I'll do is make the tail spike as wide as the piece, so then I have a lot of room to shape it how I like.
Right.
This will be fine. It's supposed to be a narrow heel, but you see, it comes off pretty quick.
So each banjo you're making is its own design and its own uniqueness, right?
Yeah, it is. It's I try to have consistency. Like the headstocks, I try and get them roughly the same.
Yep. So if you look at one, you could say,
Yeah.
Teilhard made that, right?
Yeah, and then also it's like the evolution of the banjo originally was, I think it was like that, where Joel Walker Sweeney said, I'm going to make this banjo, instead of from a gourd, I'm going to make it from a cheese hoop or a grain measure or whatever.
Yep.
And that way, when, I'm sure he wasn't actually thinking this when he made the first one, but he was probably thinking, shoot, it's easier for me to find a grain measure than it is to find a gourd today. So, and if I break this, I can come up with a replacement really quickly. You know, like just go down to the cooper and say, I need 6 hoops whipped up. And so you see already that's taking the shape of the banjo. And this is nice too. It's mahogany, but it's this piece, I don't remember what it came from, but it was, these are 2 different mahoganies. And this one is actually quilted. Like you can see closely the quilting pattern there.
Yep.
Where quilting happens when a tree twists.
Yep.
And you get these marks.
Learned a bunch about that. I did, I think, episode 5 with a knife maker and all of his handles. It was really, really neat to see all that different stuff.
Yeah, gourds. Oh, them all being different. So the thing is that when you're making a gourd, like they have to be different. Like everyone, I mean, I don't have a choice. Like every gourd grows
That's right.
in its own shape. So I can't.
So your tail stalk's gonna be a little longer on some because it's a bigger or shorter, and you just kind of go from that, right?
And how long it's going to be. So the rest of it, I try to be consistent. You know, like if somebody says I want one, like right now, the past couple of years, because Rhiannon's getting lots of attention and she's playing that banjo a lot. People are calling and saying, I want one like Rhiannon's.
Yeah.
And I can say, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Kind of like, oh, that was that one with the weird thing, you know?
Well, I think what I've seen, it kind of, you're, with this little, sorry, there it is, with this little, why are you putting that dip into it? Is it that part of your style, or is that?
Well, kind of. Chris Cool was the first guy. I went to Chris Cool like 20 years ago when I started. And I said, look, if I made a gourd banjo, would you be interested in one? And he said, absolutely. So I made a couple, and then I think he ended up with number 5. And so between, like, with Chris Cool and Rhiannon, those 2 people, I've had more business from the 2 of them.
Yeah. Because
they're great players, and they're affable, and they love talking about it, and they take them to shows and say, look, this is a gourd banjo. It's, you know, and they talk about the history and stuff. but I had no idea. Like if you look at Rhiannon's, it had this hilarious lumpy thing going down the side.
Yes, it did.
This I've changed that because originally when I got into it, I had no idea. Like I'd seen the old Boucher banjos.
That was kind of like hers there, wasn't it? It kind of had like some, yeah.
You know what this is? This is a blow dart from Borneo. Like, oh my eye!
Oh, it's got poison on the end of it.
Totally. So they should.
Okay, so it's almost like a bit of a fret mark too, then.
Yeah. So originally the Boucher banjos had a thing called an OG, like a Roman OG. So at the point, like where the dents go in, those would mark the different, like basically fret markers.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's cool.
This is earlier I was talking about this, but I didn't get back to it. But when people were saying, oh, you shouldn't, Gourd Banjos, blah, blah, blah. You can't tune them up to pitch and they're really flubby and all these different things, reasons not to get into them. One of them was the tuning them up to pitch, because when you do with the like a hung tailpiece, the pressure all goes on the gourd, and when you tune them up, the gourds are flexible, so it'll start moving in, and you get this rumply skin, and it can eventually just crush the gourd. So I thought, okay, we have to fix that. So I started making these tail pieces. This is slightly different than the usual ones I do, but the idea is that all the pressure is taken here on the tail piece, and I tie it on so that it just presses enough to hold the gourd in place. They look more like this usually. Oh, good.
Yeah, it's just a peg. Yeah, that way it brings the string tension off of the gourd, and it doesn't crush down on it, right?
Yeah. So I
got a bit of action on it now.
Yeah, I'm gonna make these so people will want to play them, and they're gonna tune well. And it's nice. I do get compliments on the pegs, like that they hold their tuning, and that they're like you can actually tune them,
So you're using synthetic strings, like, because they used to make their strings out of guts, right?
Yeah. That's what all this is. That's all rawhide for strings if I want.
That's cool. So what are you using for, you said you're using moose bone, or?
Yeah, that one's a special one. I can't tell you what it is because it's so special.
Okay.
Trouble if you find out. But usually I use moose or cow, or I have a bunch of deer bone I use.
That's cool.
But yeah, so I came up with a tailpiece that was going to allow people to tune them up to pitch if they really wanted to. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, like if you get into the gourd banjo, it's like the beauty is the low, like they're low, that low tone.
That's right.
Traveling wild and I don't know why. I can't contain whatever's burning inside. I gotta find a way to figure it out. I found the answers and there ain't no doubt. You got what I'm looking for. Yeah. 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 Keep coming on back for more. Yeah. 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 Got what I'm looking for.
Oh, didn't see you there. Well, since I have you there, like to introduce Silver and Ghost. This is a hot sauce with fermented ghost peppers, edible silver leaf, pineapple, garlic, Szechuan chili pepper flakes. This one's gonna blow you guys away. Find it at most of the stores in London, Unwrapped Marketplace, Grace Pantry online, or get it direct right from us. Happy holidays.
Because of these. So I had no idea with the Roman Oji business. Like the internet was kind of happening. I didn't really have it at the time when I started. And the pictures and books about these. I had one. No, I didn't even have that at the time. Like I'd just seen a picture somewhere and I don't remember even where I'd seen it. But in my mind, I thought, well, they have these. It's voluptuous looking, you know. And Chris Cool on his banjo, he had this little bit carved out. Like he has a Vega, I think it's a Vega banjo, and he had carved it out. Like he started wearing it out with his thumb, and then actually carved out a little divot there. So I thought, okay. The first one, I brought this all the way down to the gourd, and I shaped it to fit the gourd, so there's nowhere to get in there. And I was at a gig with it in upstate New York or Baltimore or somewhere, and a proper banjo player came along and was saying, well, if you just had more room to get in there, because they're gourd, like if I just had more room to dig in, then that would be great. So I thought, well, shoot, I'll start carving them out like this, so that'll just make a natural place for your finger to get in. And then the people who like playing up like this, you know, like sitting on with friends quietly playing, you can tend to play up here. So I started doing that, and now I've sort of gotten away from, like, this is about as fancy as I make the necks. If people want more stuff on
asking
there,
for
like,
more, yeah,
like that filigree, all that stuff. Like I like doing that.
and like
And
you
I
got
like how it looks.
you got the top string just hanging off it, because really you're not really just playing other than just an open string with your thumb, right? With your claw.
Yeah, and traditionally they would have had, like, your fifth string would go through like this.
Mm-hmm.
So now, to sort of modernize them a bit, I go in the side like that.
Yeah,
And use another nut there.
that's really cool.
But I've started to make them just simple and more straight, basing that on a neck like this, like on the old George Dobson necks, which they're really simple, but they have a huge chunky heel, and that makes lots of vibration, so you get this great sound. But just keeping them simple, so then when people, also because the gourds, like you were saying, the gourds are different shapes and sizes, so I can determine that if I say, okay, this is the gourd that's going to go with this neck when I'm at this stage, like when I'm starting to make it, like even before I lay it out, like just in the chunk of wood phase,
Block, yeah.
I can say, okay, I can roughly determine where the 12th and 10th frets are. But the thing is, if I do it, like often there'll be a rough estimation because the gourd is going to, it determines where they are and where the bridge sits on the gourd. Like that's
Pretty much have it together before you figure where the fret is.
well, exactly.
Yeah.
So then that's the thing with so that's why I'm sort of calming down not doing that filigree business.
Yeah, where they all
I'm
are,
just
because
doing-
it's not going to be exact, right?
Yeah, so then if people want to have markers put, like I'll put a bone marker in there, like on the side of a guitar, you know, like where you
Inlay.
can actually be able, inlay. So then people can see it, or if they want it actually carved in after the fact. But I'm trying to do them more simply, so then I can just add stuff if I need to, and it's totally open to getting it really exact. And Jason Mercer is a dynamite banjo player, and he's really into fixing up his banjos and how other people do it, and like
Personalizing it, pretty much, right?
yeah. And he's a modern banjo player. He plays bluegrass, so an old time now, but 12th fret is really important for him. And he kept saying, it's funny, why do you mark the 10th and not the 12th? Like, I need the 12th. I can't. And he plays with frets. So he says, well, it's hard to find the thing. You know, like it would just give me a good bearing to know where that 12th fret is. And I kept thinking, geez, what was wrong with me? Why didn't I ever put the 12th fret? Why didn't I do that? And then I realized that when you have it in this tuning, the C tuning or minstrel tuning, that's a double D, right? Right now it's a double E. but then you tune this down. This was the most common banjo tuning for 100 years. But now everybody, so then you have your G tuning. That's your common G tuning. So everybody just said, oh, let's just tune everything to G and we'll play everything out of that. And once you add frets, then you can play in any key and it makes it's much easier. But then I realized with this tuning, the 10th fret is the one. That's not, so the 10th fret is the important one, not the 12th.
What's your favorite tuning to play in?
That one, the minstrel tuning.
Yeah.
There's the 12th. Right, so yeah, this is my favorite tuning for sure.
And you just feel it's just a nice warm sound for that and it's good in your voice?
Well, it has that same feeling that that the double D tuning or double C tuning has. That kind of drony.
Yeah, very drony.
But then for this, you can just take your finger off, and you have that semitone lower, as opposed to trying to grab it up here. Like if this is in D tuning, that's where you have to grab that note.
Yeah.
So if you're but if you have it tuned like that, which is then you just I was really getting into this tuning, and then I met Dan Gellert, and it's his favorite tuning as well, and I was like,
that's it, eh?
That's it. That's the one. And there's a ton of great tunings. Like lately, I've been playing in the Last Chance tuning, which is like F D F C D. So it has this super spooky sound, and you can play other tunes in it, but it's really like the Last Chance tuning. Like that's kind of the tune you play in it.
Could you give us a song on
one of the banjos?
Yeah.
Sure. That I started playing that. I love that melody. It was a tune called Get Up in the Morning, and then that song was put over top of it. And I love the sentiment, like Jimmy Crack Corn, and I don't care. Like the original words are "Master's gone away." When I was a boy, I used to wait on the old man's table and pass him the plate, pass around the bottle when he got dry, and shoo away the blue-tailed fly, which is the blue-tailed fly, right? And but I just can't bring myself to sing the words anymore, and I don't want to be.
Well, it's the thing with the old music we do. We have to make it right for the day and age, because there's a lot of soft people out there right now, and also it's not culturally appropriate.
Yeah, listen to Memphis Jug Band, like half the stuff you're like,
Memphis Jug Band. Oh yeah, Memphis Jug Band. So I have to change all the words whenever I play it, really.
Totally. And the thing that's so difficult is that, like, there's a big debate the other day on the internet about Turkey in the Straw, the tune Turkey in the Straw, and it's related to all these other tunes. But originally it was a Scottish tune that came over as a fiddle tune. And then some idiot wrote some funny lyrics to put over top that were totally racist and gross. And so then now, if you play that, people were saying, well, should we stop playing that tune? And I was saying, well, look, like our job is to present this music and to say, this is a beautiful melody. Please don't let the baggage that was added to it after, like the tune wasn't responsible for that, apart from being a beautiful melody. You know, like we gotta, I don't want these tunes to disappear because there are so many beautiful melodies that could easily vanish if people said, no, it's not politically correct, because the words that some other nuthead, knuckle idiot, wrote some racist lyrics and put them over top of this other melody. Like, the poor tune doesn't need that baggage, and so if we could, I'm all for people knowing the history, and I'm totally, I think it's important for people to know what has happened and what's gone on and what's going on. But I think also it's kind of like guilty until proven innocent or something. Like, no, innocent until proven guilty. So like, for me to play this tune, one of my favorite all-time tunes. It's now called Pompeii Ran Away. It was originally a blessing tune for somebody going on a journey in West Africa. They would play that on the kora, or like on probably a dusunguni or a kamalangoni, and you know, like a gourd harp. They'd sing that, or they'd play the melody, and they'd probably sing words like "bless you" and "have a good trip" and "safe return" and all that. And then somebody, it was a Scottish composer and explorer, was out, and he heard this tune. So then he wrote it down, and it made its way into a music book of romantic music for bagpipe, fife, and drum. Then somehow it got stuck with the title Pompeii Ran Away, and made it into the minstrel banjo world. So this tune, a beautiful, like a sentimental tune, makes it to Scotland, comes over to North America, gets stuck in a minstrel show because it's a beautiful melody. But then I don't know yet if there were lyrics written to it, but then somehow it relates to a story of a runaway slave called Pompeii, and it's then called Pompeii Ran Away. And there's newspaper articles that I've seen from the time saying he was a banjo playing slave, you know, and all the different words to describe that. And so friends of mine in Kingston, we just recorded that song as a pop song with the band called the Gertrudes. And oh, it's my clock. Oh, it's my cuckoo. So we recorded this as a beautiful piece of music. It's a song with words about being evicted from the tent city that we had going on here. Yep. So it was written especially for that. You can look it up. It's the Gertrudes is the band, and maybe put a link here because it's such a well written song, and it's based on this melody. And one of the producers, though, didn't want anything to do with it. He didn't want to mix it. He didn't want to do any of the engineering. He would play on it, but he didn't even really want to do that because he was saying, well, look, like, it's got this terrible history. So I don't want to be associated with this terrible history. And I was saying, but the thing is that now we're like, this beautiful melody started out as a beautiful thing. It made its way through all this crap, and now it's gotten to us, and we're using it again. Fix it. For good. That's right. And it's a beautiful melody. So like, if we could just like separate all the crap from the music, like that seems only fair. And then to present it to people and say, here, isn't this beautiful? And then you go, yeah, that's really beautiful. Then we could say, this is what happened with this tune. But please don't let that influence how you feel about the tune. You know what I mean? Like, if you grew up with it in your life and it was like, you're an idiot and we hate you, you're an idiot, right? And then you heard that later, you'd be like, I don't think I really want to hear that right now. You know, like, it's, or whatever the words were. Like, I can understand that, but the crazy thing right now is that most of these melodies nobody knows anyway. Like, it's not like they've had to listen to, like, Turkey in the Straw is a bit different because it gets used for different things. Like, it used to be the ice cream truck jingle and stuff like that. But the thing is, like, we have to give them another chance, the tunes, because the tunes have nothing to do with that. You know, well, that's what I want to do with us and you, and like I want to
we're bringing this old music back, and people are like, oh, like it's new music to them again, right? Unless present it in the proper form.
Exactly.
And you said,
well, this is a banjo that I just made from the butternut bowl, a hand-turned bowl with it's a skid pallet neck, salvaged from skid. This is a Victorian black cherry that I ebonized with a solution. Moose bone, and this is goat skin, Wolf Island goat skin. And I just finished making this banjo last week.
that's awesome. It's beautiful.
It's off to Kingston. And the headstocks and that, like when I came up with this design for the headstocks, it was because, you know, like if you see this one's like a shovel head.
Mm-hmm.
And traditionally the minstrel banjos had this, what looked like a violin headstock. Yeah, like that. They kind of look more like that guy. And that was to look like the side of, like when you look at a fiddle from the side.
Yeah.
That's the curl, the scroll and everything. So, but that didn't happen with the gourds. Like that wasn't happening. They would just use a pole usually, or if they, you know, like, or a flat piece of wood, and it would have a design on the top, but it didn't look like any of those, which is what people tend to do. And when I started out, I thought, well, geez, I'm not trying to make a reproduction of anything. Like I was a bit nervous. Like it's that, you know, appropriation and that kind of thing. I thought, okay, well, I have to come up with something that's totally my own. And it wasn't appropriation at the time that was driving my thought. It was that I just didn't want to, I'm not going to make something that's a replica, and I'm not going to make something that's like a misrepresentation of a replica, like having the Boucher style headstock like that.
Mm-hmm.
On a gourd, because they just wouldn't have really had those yet, and so I didn't. Well, I'll sing you this song. This is one that I've loved singing through this COVID time. It's been, let's see if I remember all the words. I've only had the opportunity to sing it twice, I think, in real life. It comes from John Hartford. Where does an old-time riverman go after he's passed away? Does his soul still keep a watch on the deep for the rest of the river days? Does he then come back as a channel cat, the wasps that light on the wheel, the birds that fly in the summer sky, fish swimming under the keel? Where does an old-time engineer go? No, where does an old-time pilot go after he's cooled her down? No. Where does an old-time pilot go after he's stood his last watch? Does he fall by the ear of the man who steers, saying, hold her on that notch? There's a gentle sneeze in the river breeze, saying, son, I'm a-going to bed. They light their pipes, go off in the night, or was that fireflies instead? cooled her down. 'Cause he'd gone up the hill to never come back from the quiet side of town. Soul live on in the engine song while the striker checks the gears. Is he still afloat on an old steamboat after he's gone from here? Almost got it there.
So, if somebody was interested in purchasing a banjo from you, do you have a website, or how could they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I have a website. It's tfrostmusic.com, I think. tfrostmusic.com. And, yeah.
They can get a hold of you through there. And
yeah,
I know you're also...
just my name. That's the other thing. Like, spell my name and find my email.
That's right, yeah. Come find me, right?
There's like 9 for every... 9 that don't make it for every one that does.
I know you're also doing like an online schooling right now. Is that through your website, or is that through something else?
No, well, both. There's through a thing called Beyond School.
Okay.
It's a group that was started because of the COVID.
Yeah.
There were a ton of people looking for homeschooling options for their kids and just like alternate education, which is amazing that this is, you know, forcing people into realizing, oh, there are options to this and we can make it work. So I'm teaching pocket percussion, pocket folk music like harmonica, bones, ham bone, jaw harp, didgeridoo, stuff like that. And right now it's mainly kids, like from 5 to 16, 18. And but I teach online. I have like
teach my brother.
Jason Malloy.
That's right.
J-Mo, he's one of my number one students.
That's awesome.
And so I do that in the evenings and sometimes in the day. Isn't that a cool, weird tune?
Yeah, great.
Sail away, ladies.
All right, guys, there it is, episode 12 of What's Happening 613. That was with Teilhard Frost, also known as Sheeshman Crow. I want to thank him so much for having me out, me and Jay. Jay's taken some fiddle lessons from him, and it's amazing how far he's got with that style. It's awesome. I could probably do a part 2 of this because we talked for a long time and I had to break this down into an hour episode, so I had kind of broke it down into his banjo playing, or his banjo making, sorry. But I got like a ton of behind the scenes cool stuff. Maybe I could do like a part 2 of it or something like that, so watch out for that maybe one day.
I want to say again, thank you so much for having me out and teach me all about these banjos. If you ever want to learn some music from him, he does it online. My brother's learning some fiddle online with him because they live so far away from each other. And he teaches lots of different stuff like bones, harmonica, didgeridoo, jaw harps. Yeah, really interesting guy. And he travels around the world learning about this kind of stuff, so he brings it all back and gives it to us, so it's amazing. So thank you so much for having me out, and keep up the great work. I'm just finishing editing right now. Next, what am I doing here? We're gonna thank Jesse Long from Hot Sauce Co. He's got his new sauce out, Ghost and Silver, so go check that out. His hot sauce, I'm not a spicy guy, but it's not even that, some it's not even that spicy. Like he said, he's got like 1s, 2s, 3s, it goes up in lists. Check it out, you can order it offline. They have it right here in Belleville store called like Obi's sauce or something like that, maybe. I'll put up a link on the bottom. And yeah, so go check out Jesse from the Hot Sauce Co. because this guy's killing it. I'm gonna get an interview with him here real soon. And so I wanna learn about how he got into this kind of stuff because he's took it from a hobby to a full-time job, and I'm super proud of him because that's what the dream is, right? You never know, someday maybe I'll be doing this as a full-time job. That'd be cool. But anyways, we had our What's Happening 613 variety show at the Sterling Theater. I want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting that. The Sterling Theater in the Groove Studios for doing sound for us. I'm gonna do an episode actually because I got a few songs from everybody that night. So there'll be an like maybe around New Year's there'll be an episode for that. Episode 13 coming out is gonna be Robin Scott and her son Matt Brown, and these guys are awesome. Lady was awesome and her son was awesome. And yeah, so that's next coming up. It'll be a little bit of a Christmas episode, so watch it for around Christmas. Here comes this one. Let's keep this going. I'm enjoying it. I got many more people coming up. So yeah, my business breaks have slowed down because of COVID and because of all other stuff. But if you have something you want to shout out, you can even do like a Zoom call or even do a little commercial yourself and send it to me like my buddy Jesse just did. So if you have something you want to promote, go ahead and do it. Send it to me. Let's talk. Let's do whatever we can. So that's what's happening, guys. Thanks. Peace. Subscribe. You know what's up. Love yous. See you later.